The US government may be getting a new bill. A very chunky, big, beautiful one worth $250. But why doesn't America already have one? After all, if you've ever were standing behind someone who is paying with a bunch of hundreds for, let's say, a bag of groceries with 2026 inflation, you've probably thought bigger bills might be useful. And yet, the US has never had a 250 denomination, at least not officially. Which is strange because America once printed money worth far, far more than that. So if America once had giant bills, why doesn't it have a $250 bill till now? Well, it's because that experiment kinda happened and it didn't end the way you would expect. So most people think that the 100 denomination is the largest bill ever printed. But it's not even close. Because for decades, the US printed a $500, a $1,000, a $5,000, and a $10,000 bill, which definitely screams money printing madness that was probably ordered by officials. Anyway, the $500 bill featured President William McKinley, the $1,000 featured Grover Cleveland, the $5,000 featured James Madison, and the $10,000 bill featured Salmon P. Chase, who you probably would not know or never heard of because he wasn't even a president. But even those weren't the biggest bills, because technically the United States also had a $100,000 bill with the face of Woodrow Wilson. So if you're already reaching for your wallet, you should kinda stop, because normal people couldn't use it. The bill was created exclusively for transactions between Federal Reserve banks, which is probably for the best because asking a cashier to break $100,000 is a great way to drive them insane. The obvious question is why any of these existed in the first place. And the answer is surprisingly simple. Today, if a bank wants to transfer $10 million, somebody presses a button and a few seconds later, the money arrives somewhere else. Done. But before electronic banking, moving money meant physically moving money. So if Bank A wanted to send money to Bank B, somebody actually had to transport it. And giant bills made that a lot easier. In many ways, they were financial equipment. And for decades, they worked perfectly, until technology happened and suddenly the reason they existed started disappearing. As banks gained new ways to move money like checks, wire transfers, and electronic banking, the practical need for giant bills started shrinking. But there was one group that still loved them: criminals. Because giant bills solve the same problem for criminals that they solve for banks, easily moving large amounts of money, which in a twist created a problem for the government. By the 1960s, legitimate businesses barely needed large bills anymore, but criminals absolutely did. And that's usually not a great sign. So the Treasury Department started asking a simple question. If banks don't need these anymore, and criminals do, why are we still printing them? So in 1969, the government quietly stopped printing them, and over time they disappeared from circulation. Problem solved, well, till now. Which brings us back to today, because the proposed $250 bill creates an awkward question. If America spent decades moving away from large denomination currency, why introduce a new one? Now, to be fair, a $250 is nowhere near a $10,000, but that's not really the point. The point is that America already made a policy decision about large bills and why they weren't considered useful enough to justify the risks. And that decision has lasted for more than 50 years. And yet now, discussions about a commemorative $250 bill are bringing the idea back. Additionally, supporters of the proposal want the bill to feature President Donald Trump. And the federal law strictly says that no living person can appear on US currency. Which sounds like one of those rules that should be redundant, like don't microwave your shoes or use Gorilla Glue on your hair. Yet somehow history made it so. Back in the 1860s, a Treasury official named Spencer Clark managed to get his own portrait placed on the 5-cent note. Unfortunately, Congress was less than thrilled, so in 1866 lawmakers passed legislation preventing living people from appearing on American currency. Problem solved. And for the next 160 years, the rule sat quietly in the background until the proposed $250 bill. Which means that before lawmakers can even argue about whether America wants a new denomination, they may first have to revisit a law created, because one government employee got a little too excited about seeing his own face on money. Which is not a sentence I expected to write, but here we are. So, the strange thing about the proposed $250 bill isn't really the denomination. since America has printed much larger bills before. The strange thing is that creating a bill means reopening two debates that America thought it settled decades ago. The first is whether large denomination bills are actually useful, and the second is whether living people should appear on currency. Because apparently even currency reals can get a reboot. Thank you everyone for watching my video, I hope you like it, and I will be bringing fun different topics in the upcoming weeks. Like, subscribe, and all that, and see you on the next one.